Hey Algebra people, one more time I wanted to remind you about the YouTube links that we have posted for you in this Google Doc. So I'm just going to review properties and justifying equations. So here's just a bunch of videos reviewing that. So make sure that you're taking advantage of this Google Doc and reviewing these videos that we've posted for you. Okay, this was a Google form that you guys should have done on October the 1st. So on October the 1st, you had this equation to justify, and it goes through, it asks you to fill in each individual, space, and it has the drop-down menu for you to click and fill this in. I'm actually going to use these annotation tools, and I'm just going to write in here, which that is how I had encouraged my people to work this, is to write this down on a piece of paper and just do the whole problem at one time. Then when you go to do the drop-down boxes and fill in the blanks, you already know what goes in that blank. So I'm going to try and use these annotation tools and fill it in. Okay, so for the first box here, it tells us that we need to be doing distribution. So I'm going to go ahead and do this distribution. And actually, hold on 1 minute. Okay, I didn't think my box was big enough. Alright, so I'm going to do the distribution. So if I do 3 times x, I get 3x. 3 times a positive 2 is positive 6. Then I have a negative 2. Guys, that minus sign there belongs with this with this 2. So negative 2 times x is negative 2x. Negative 2 times a positive 7 is negative 14. And that equals 4x plus 7. Okay? I'm going to put some spaces in here. It's a little bit easier to read. So that's my distribution step. You guys should be comfortable and confident with distribution because you've done it for the past 2 years. So hopefully that distribution was not an issue for you. Alright, now we get into actually doing the justifications. So, like I said in my properties of inequality video, when we're justifying, we're just asking ourselves, what looks different in this step compared to what I had before? So, what looks different? What changed? Well, looking on the right-hand side, I have 4x plus 7. That looks exactly the same. I have 3x. That looks the same. And I have a minus 14. That looks the same. But what I notice is in the middle here, my 6 minus 2x has turned into minus 2x plus 6. So what happened is my 6 and my 2x, my minus 2x rather, they have changed order. Changed order. CO. That's the commutative property. Okay? Because they've changed orders. Now, to get my next blank here, I do the same thing. I just say, all right, what looks different here compared to what I had up here? So what makes this step different? Well, my 4x plus 7 looks the same. However, on my left-hand side, I've got a whole bunch of stuff happening, really. My 3x minus 2 turned into just an x, and my 6 minus 14 turned into a negative 8. So that's just combining like terms or substitution property. Okay, so anytime you combine like terms, it's just substitution. Okay? So now I'm going to look at my next one here. What makes this step different than the previous step? What makes this different? And if you were solving this yourself on paper, what would you have done to get this step? Okay? What would have happened? Well, notice on the right-hand side, my 4x plus 7 turns into just a 7, and my x has turned into a negative 3x. So, the reason this happened, or what made this happen, what would I had to do to get rid of this positive 4x? I would have had to subtract it to the other side, or subtract it on both sides. Okay? So what they did to solve this equation is they had to subtract on both sides. So that's the subtraction property of equality. I'm just going to do POE for property of equality. Because they had to subtract that positive 4x, and that's where they're getting this negative 3. So remember with variables, if they don't have a coefficient, or it doesn't look like they have a coefficient, they do. It's a coefficient of 1, right? So if I were to subtract the 4x on both sides, this would have canceled, and 1 minus 4x would give me negative 3. Okay, so that's subtraction property of equality. Okay, I'm going to get my text box back. All right, so now, what happened to make this look different than the step before? Okay, that's all we're asking with justifying. It's just what makes this different. So my negative 3x is the same. My 8 disappeared, and my 7 turned into a 15. Well, why or how? What happened? If I were solving this two-step equation, what would I do? I would have to cancel out subtracting 8. To cancel subtraction, I would have to add on both sides. So that's addition, property of equality. Oops. Okay. And then for the last one, what makes this look different than the step above it? What makes it look different? Well, my negative 3 disappeared, and my 15 turned into a negative 5. How? What happened? What was going on behind the scenes to make this happen? If I were solving, this is just a one-step equation. This negative 3 is multiplying to the x. So if I wanted to cancel that out, if I wanted to solve for x, I would have to divide. So this is the division property of equality. Okay? So I hope that helped.